Hi Bob, and thank you for joining us. As always, an absolute pleasure to have you here. Let's jump straight into it, shall we, with the week ahead. Is there anything particular coming up in the next week that we should be keeping an eye on?
Busy week for the US dollar. Key stats in the early part of the week, we're looking at jobs, job openings and consumer prices. Obviously plenty of interest in the inflation figures, so expect that to be the key driver. Focus will then shift to wholesale inflation and jobless claims figures on Thursday. Obviously, jobless claims figures will be key. And then wrapping things up at the end of the week, we've got retail sales, industrial production, and consumer sentiment. Obviously, expect retail sales and consumer sentiment to be the key drivers, consumption being key to the economic recovery. For the euro, we've got ZEW economic sentiment figures for Germany and the Eurozone, and then we've got industrial production figures for the Eurozone. During the week, we've got finalized April inflation figures as well from member states, but we don't expect too much influence from those. For the pound, early part of the week, we've got retail sales figures. Wrapping things up, we've got first quarter GDP numbers, industrial and manufacturing production and trade data. Obviously expect the GDP numbers and manufacturing production figures to be the key drivers, though we will continue to be monitoring the trade figures post-Brexit.
And Bob, is there anything we should be looking at in regards to the commodity currency countries?
For the loonie, relatively quiet week. Wholesale sales figures and manufacturing sales figures are due out in the week. Don't expect too much influence from these numbers. Market risk sentiment and obviously commodity prices and crude oil in particular will be the key drivers. For the Aussie dollar, we've got business confidence and retail sales figures at the start of the week and consumer confidence figures midweek. We're going to be looking at the retail sales figures, which is key, and obviously RBA is looking for a continued pickup in business confidence and consumer confidence to support business investment and consumption. For the Kiwi dollar, relatively quiet week. Electronic card retail sales and business PMI numbers are due out. Obviously, we'll expect plenty of interest in these numbers with little else for the markets to focus on in the week.
Elsewhere in Asia, Bob, is there anything in regards to Japan and China that's caught your attention heading into the week ahead?
For the Japanese yen, particularly quiet week ahead on the economic data front. There are no stats to consider, so that leaves Japanese yen in the hands of market risk sentiment throughout the week. For the Chinese yuan, we've got inflation figures. Obviously, through the PMI surveys, we're seeing continued pickup or talk of a pickup in input and output prices. So obviously, we're expecting inflationary pressures to continue to build. Those are the key stats to consider from China in the week. A relatively quiet one.
And finally, Bob, as we always like to finish with geopolitics, is there anything there that could impact the markets?
On the geopolitical risk front, well, it's been relatively quiet, really. We're not seeing too much friction at present. Obviously, we'll continue to monitor US-China, US-Russia relations, and obviously Iran's nuclear agreement. These will be the key areas where we need to continue keeping an eye on things. But at the moment, Biden's getting things done domestically, and obviously he's looking to push this nuclear agreement as well, while not really wanting to, cause too much friction with China and Russia while putting his foot down. China and Russia both seem to have, stepped back a little bit on that. So that's let the markets move forward on market optimism towards the economic recovery.
Bob, as always, thank you very much. An absolute pleasure, and we'll speak to you again very soon indeed. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. This was the week ahead, but don't worry, we'll be back very soon with more from myself and Bob. Until then, head over to the Dukascopy TV social media pages to keep up to date with everything else affecting the markets, and goodbye.